Alrick Show.
Welcome to the Alrick Show. She wanted to be a professional dancer, but a rare and progressive heart condition has caused her to change this dream. Abigail Smythe is here with us today on the Alrick Show. How are you doing, Abby?
I'm good, thank you for having me.
Have you completely wrapped your mind around this condition? Life.
Have I completely? Yes, but sometimes it's like, wow, this is so surreal. I really have this condition. This is really scary.
Yeah. Why do you say it's scary?
It's scary because it's progressive, that's one. So as I get older, it's going to get worse. That's according to science. And I'm at risk of going into sudden cardiac arrest, and which will lead to sudden cardiac death. So at any point in time, I can go into cardiac arrest. But I have this implantable device that helps to prevent that. But how it works is that when my heart is racing too fast, the device has to shock my heart to calm it down. Each of these shocks feel like a horse's kick to the chest. And in an episode, I'll get like 5 or 6 shocks, couple seconds apart. And that in itself is extremely scary.
How often do you get these shocks?
I haven't gotten any real heavy shocks since 2013 because I'm also on medication to help keep my heart rate slow. But I do get other therapy. There's another form of therapy that the device gives me. It can give me milder therapy called pacing, where the device tries to regulate my heart rate. So it's not racing, but it's beating irregularly. So the device has to regulate that, and that feels very uncomfortable.
How uncomfortable does it get knowing that you have a device? There's a device.
Knowing that I have this big metal battery in my chest, sometimes it's like, it's so surreal. Sometimes I stand and I pull away my top and I just stare at it in the mirror and rub my hand over it to see if it's really, really real. And sometimes I'm like, wow, I have to depend on this for the rest of my life.
Is this battery like a rechargeable battery, or how does it work?
It has a lifespan. Some of them has a lifespan of up to 12 years, but this one that I have now has a lifespan of 7 years. So when it reaches 7 years, I have to replace it, get a new one. It can run out sooner than that depending on how often I get shocked, or if it starts to malfunction, like my first device, then I have to replace it.
All right. How long since you have the device in?
This one in particular, I've had it since June 2019. It's very new. I had one in before since 2012, and it was supposed to last 12 years, but unfortunately it just started malfunctioning out of the blue, so we had to replace it.
What's the name of the condition that you live with?
It's arrhythmogenic right ventricular dysplasia, or ARVD.
What exactly is it? Help my viewers to understand exactly what it is.
Okay, so let's break it down.
All right.
The word right is in there, so it affects the right side of the heart. In my case, the right side of my heart doesn't function as it should. My right ventricular wall is a little thinner than it should be. I have 2 leaking valves, one on the left, one on the right. My heart is slightly enlarged and it races fast to the point where it can send me into cardiac arrest at any time.
Oh, my heart feels a little fast right now by you telling me all of this.
Yeah.
Wow. When did you figure this out?
I was having signs and symptoms since I was like 7 years old.
Like what? Symptoms and signs?
I was easily tired. My heart would race fast all the time. You know, at age 7 or 8, you'd be playing at school during lunchtime. And I realized that after lunch, when we came back to class, when everyone was calm and okay, I was still breathing really heavily. So I went to my teacher and I said, "Miss, feel my heart. My heart is beating really fast." And she felt it, and that scared her. So she wrote a note to my mom. I took it home. My mom took me to the doctor the next day. That doctor said he can't really look at that, so he sent me to another doctor who sent me to another doctor. So that final doctor, cardiologist, he just listened to my heartbeat and said, "Oh, she's fine, nothing is wrong with her." Then a few years after that,
Wow.
my mom passed.
Wow, sorry.
Unfortunately, it turns out it was a heart condition.
And she never figured it out.
She knew she had it, but she didn't really, she wasn't open with it like that. So no one really knew for sure that it was a heart condition until after she passed. Maybe one or two of her sisters knew that she had a condition. It turned out that she had a heart condition, same thing that I have now, and she needed to get the device as well. And if she was told that if she didn't get it, she would only have 8 years to live, and she died the exact 8th year. Yeah, so this condition is nothing to play around with.
Wow.
Yeah.
When you were diagnosed with it, at what age?
I was officially diagnosed when I was 19. Yeah, I was 19. After my mom passed, throughout the years, throughout high school, community college, my symptoms got worse. I couldn't take it anymore. Started to become a case where I had breathing problems. I had shortness of breath, sharp chest pains that when I felt these pains, I would feel like, okay, God, this is it. I'm getting a heart attack. Oh my God, I'm going to die. I need to write a will before I actually die. And I called a friend of mine who's a doctor. I said, we have to get this sorted out. I can't take this anymore. We did an ECG and it showed I have an abnormal heart rhythm. And then he referred me to KPH, who sent me to UE Hospital. And then from 2011 to 2012, I was basically a lab rat, doing a lot of tests, repeating some of these tests, being tried with different medications to see what exactly the problem was. And then it came to a point where the doctor said, okay, this is what you have, but we need to be sure.
How do you remember that moment when he looked you in the eyes and he told you exactly that you actually can die?
My heart started racing, of course. I was really scared. I got teary-eyed and I started worrying immediately. And I said, okay, what's the cost for this device? It's called an implantable cardioverter defibrillator, or ICD. In layman's term, we just call it a battery. And I said, okay, doc, what's the cost for this? He said, okay, it's $15,500. And I said, I can't give you that right now, what do you mean? And then he said, US dollars. And at that point in time, I started laughing. When I get extremely scared or frightened, I laugh. So I laughed nervously. I was thinking, where am I going to get this amount of money from? I can't afford this, you know. And we initially got help, and he called me one morning and said, okay, Abby, the device is here, so talk to your family and then we'll have surgery done.
What kept you from breaking?
One, it might sound weird, but it's fear. I have a fear of dying young and not fulfilling my purpose, so that drives me to fight every single day. And another thing, throughout the entire period, there was just a little voice in my head saying, mustard seed, faith. So I was thinking, okay, I just need this amount of faith. And I kept telling myself that I'm going to make it. I'm going to make it. I'm not going to die. And I'm going to survive.
We take a break. When we come back, we continue our story with Abigail. Alrick Show. Welcome back to the show. We continue our conversation with Abigail Smythe. She has been living with a heart condition that is so rare, and today she tells us more. You said, Abigail, that you fight every single day because you have a purpose. What do you believe your purpose is?
I believe my purpose is to help others. That's it. After my first surgery in 2012, we implanted the device. I thought everything was fine. And the following day, we found out my lungs had collapsed. I couldn't breathe. I was in a lot of pain. Found out the lungs had collapsed, so they had to cut me again, this time while I was awake, because my lungs had collapsed. And they had to put a chest tube in and to drain the excess blood and fluid from my chest so I could breathe.
While you're awake?
Yeah, they did all that while I was awake. I've never felt so much pain in my entire life. In my entire life. And I don't want to go through that ever again. And I was laying there thinking on my journey leading up to surgery. And I met other people while doing my visits to the clinic. And the thought came to me that I need to do something. And the idea came to me for a foundation. So I had the concept in my head. And then it turned out that after my first surgery and we thought I was on the road to recovery, something else happened. My body started rejecting the device. This device is titanium. My body isn't used to that apparently. So my body was literally pushing the device out. It was actually trying to tear my skin to exit my body. So they had to go back in. That's another surgery. So the first surgery was April and this is October. Everything was fine. Moving along, I started the foundation. That's the Abigail Smythe I Have a Heart Foundation.
I Have a Heart.
Yes.
Well, why the name behind that? I mean, I get the picture with a heart.
Yeah. I have a heart, yeah, literal one, but I also have a soft spot in it for others who are suffering. Yeah.
Are you the only one in Jamaica with this condition?
No. Last time I asked my doctor, he said there are about 5 of us, maybe, me being the youngest. It's very rare, so not a lot of people have it. Yeah. So after that surgery, I was going on fine, doing my advocacy, touring schools and sharing my story and telling them about heart disease, how to prevent it, the causes, the effects, all that. From 2015 going up to 2019, we realized that the device was migrating. The device is implanted just below the collarbone. It started migrating down into my left breast. That was causing a lot of swelling, pain, discomfort. So in 2018, they had to go back in. This is the 3rd time. So they had to go back in, lift the device out of my breast and stitch it down so it doesn't move again. So they had used a mesh to support that. Came out of hospital. I said, yes, doing fine. The mesh started protruding, like it was tearing my flesh from the inside. So they had to go back in again, just 4 weeks later, to do some adjustments.
So Abigail, in these moments though,
Yeah.
Frustration must have set in.
Yeah, like
I'm trying to understand why did it just give up, like just leave this alone?
I don't want to die, so I have to just do what I have to do. I don't want to die young. I haven't lived any life as yet, So in those moments, I'm like, here we go again. And of course, I start worrying, what if I don't wake up from this surgery? But I eventually came through the 4th one where they had to adjust the mesh and everything was fine. I'm doing good, continuing my advocacy and making plans for my foundation. And then February 2019, one morning I'm getting ready for work. I heard this loud beeping, so I thought it was my phone alarming or my tablet. It wasn't that. And then I tilted my head to my chest like this and I heard the beeping coming from my chest. Immediately I got scared, of course, so I contacted my doctor, went in to see him, and it turned out that the device was malfunctioning. Yeah, there was something off with the calculations and longevity assessment, so we had to immediately start sourcing a new device. New device came and we did another surgery, that's number 5, in June 2019, and they had to cut me at the same spot. So, it's severe pain now, and by now the skin right there has started to wear out, so the scars keeps on stretching, and they had to do some special assessment for that part and adjustment. So it was a whole lot, and because I was doing surgery so often, my body became sensitive to the cleaning agent, so I came out of surgery with a lot of burns all over. So it was just a lot, but the important thing is that I made it.
You seem so, from afar off, you seem to have it together. Like everything is so okay with you. Everything is pretty normal. Nobody would ever know. What do you really go through on a daily basis?
What I really go through, well, financially it costs a lot to be living with a heart condition. You're talking about medication, regular checkups at the doctor, regular tests, to see the progression, and sometimes between appointments and tests, I may have little emergencies where I have to go in to see my doctor. And that's the financial part. The social part, the device is affected by loudspeakers and I might trigger alarms and all that type. So I can't go
When
certain
you say
places.
Trigger alarms, what do you mean? You may walk past a car and the alarm.
No, if I'm, for example, the airport, go through the metal detectors, it can go off.
Oh.
Cool, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I can trigger alarms. It's affected by loudspeakers. So, certain events, I can go to certain events. I do go out, but if I do go out, I can't be too close to the speakers. I have to be at the extreme back or in a little corner. For example, the other day I went to an event and I was watching everybody else dancing, having fun, and that kind of broke me to know that before I could dance and have fun.
Especially
and
if you
all
wanted
that.
to be a professional
Yes,
dancer.
yes. So I was watching everybody and I was like, wow, I don't want to sound ungrateful, but I wish that was me. That's how bad it was. And then for days after that, I was just broken. I was just crying. I'm like, I've been strong since 2011 leading up to this point, but I can't be strong all the time. It was just a weak moment for me. I was just crying. I was like, God, you brought me through so much and I don't want to seem ungrateful, but why me? And I had to remind myself that I was going through all this for a reason. It made me stronger, made me appreciate life more, and it put me on a mission to help other people. Because just by sharing my story, a lot of people told me that they're inspired, they're motivated.
All right, we take a break. When we come back, we continue our conversation with Abigail Smythe. Alrick Show. Welcome back to the show. We talk with motivational speaker and founder of I Have a Heart Foundation, Abigail Smythe. She talks to us more about living with a rare heart condition. Got that right?
Yes.
All right, good. All right, now, what do you tell yourself every day when you wake up?
Every morning I wake up, I open my eyes and realize my heart is beating. I'm just so grateful, to the point where I get emotional sometimes, because a lot of people die from heart attacks in their sleep. So that scares me. So sometimes I don't sleep. If I'm not feeling well, I don't sleep because I don't want to die. I know you can die, but being alive is just such a blessing for me now.
How old are you now?
I'm 27.
27 years old.
Yes.
Well, how do you conduct yourself like in public? What if you should get like a cardiac arrest?
Alright, when I'm out in public, you think I'm the quietest person ever. I have to be so calm because just with my anxiety disorder, just being out in public makes me really anxious. So I'm usually calm and I have to always wear this. This is my medical necklace. It has my medical info. In some cases, I may lose consciousness before getting a shock. So if I lose consciousness, somebody can look at this and get the necessary info that they need. I also have a medical ID on my phone that they can access while it's closed to see who they should call. I also wear this. It's a heart rate monitor that monitors my heartbeat so I know when to slow down. So I also have to travel with my manual. I have a manual for the device with the do's and don'ts, instructions, and that type of stuff. I also have this medical card that I can't leave anywhere at all. Like your car engine has the chassis number and all of that. Right. Yeah, that's the chassis number for my engine right here. Yeah.
How do you deal with like dating? How do you have that conversation with Mr. Potential?
Well, in the past, I was dating someone, found out that we knew something was wrong with my heart because I always spoke about it. But then, in addition to that, I found out I had another condition. I have scoliosis, that's curvature of the spine. And with that, in addition to the possibility of me having a heart disease, it maybe scared that person. So he looked at me and he said, "Me no want no sicky sicky woman." So after that, the first thing I do when I meet a guy back then is if he said he likes me, I said, "Okay, well, I'm Abigail Smythe. I have all these medical conditions. Can you deal with that?" I remember one instance, I met a guy, I was dating him, and I got shocked maybe like a week after we started talking, and I think that scared him. So that was the relationship after that. But then the guy I'm dating now, we've been together for 3 years, and he's super supportive.
Great.
Yeah, my last 2 surgeries, he was there 2 times a day, every single day, bringing me food and washing my clothes and all that type of stuff. He's very supportive. He says he doesn't see ARVD and scoliosis, he sees Abby. And I appreciate that more than anything.
How does that make you feel? Finally, and not just finally, but the person that you're meant to be with will find you, and you will also find that person.
Yeah, and I think I've found him, to be honest, and I think he has found me as well, because he says my story inspires him daily to do what he does, and I think that's a special thing. If I have kids, there's a possibility of me passing it on to the children. So having kids is a risk, and pregnancy puts stress on the heart. So I want kids, but it's very scary for me, and my doctor advises me that if I want kids, I should do it now, like right now, while my heart is still strong, before the possibility of any deterioration of the heart. So I'm thinking about maybe giving you a godson in maybe 2-3
Of course.
maybe two,
Of course,
three.
work it out.
Yeah, maybe 2-3 years,
Right.
Yeah, if it's even one, I'd love to be a mother.
Right, and I'm waiting on a godson.
Great. So we have a deal.
Did the doctors give you a timeline to live?
No. But as we mentioned earlier, the condition is progressive. So as I get older, it's going to get worse. So as I get older, my heart will deteriorate. So if that happens very quickly, then I may have to get a heart transplant, which is very, very scary for me. But when I reach that bridge, I'll cross it. In the meantime, I'm saving for a new device, because when this device finishes in 7 years, I'll have to get a new one.
What is the dream that you have for yourself now?
No, in the future, I'd love to see my foundation even bigger, because the main aim of it is to raise awareness for heart disease and to provide financial, social, and psychological support for others living with heart disease who don't have easy access to those things. Yeah, so that's one. I hope to make it bigger. I hope it grows. Also, to see myself as a mother, as I said. And the number one thing, be alive. Once I have life, everything else can fall into place after that. I just want to be alive. I just want to live.
There are so many things that we take for granted. We have just a little headache. I will feel as if, because I'm talking to you now, Abigail, and I'm like, there are so many times I've had a headache, and I feel as if my world is over.
Yeah.
But no, I really do appreciate that headache.
Yeah, you should. You should.
What do you say to people like Alrick, who's just going through a headache?
One, you have to tell yourself that no matter what it is that you're going through, there's always somebody going through worse than you. There's somebody somewhere out there who would give anything to trade places with you. That's one. And you have to look at everything as a lesson. See what you can take from your situation. And also, you have to learn to find the betterness in your bitterness, find the testimony in your test, and find the purpose in your pain. It's that simple. Just try to do that.
How are you feeling now, like in this exact moment? How are you feeling
In this
now?
exact moment, I'm feeling grateful. I'm sitting here talking to Alrick on a platform where others can hear my story and hopefully be inspired and motivated.
Thank you again. for sharing this on the
Thank
Alrick Show.
thank you for
And
having
I
me.
wish you all the best, and
Thank
I
you.
admire your strength
Thank you.
and help to save lives through your foundation.
Thank you.
All right. We want to thank Abigail Smythe for sharing today with us on the Alrick Show. The Alrick Show will be back next week.
Alrick Show.